Boom, 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 back again. The ultimate disturbing and vile anime fans. Iceberg. Don't know who this is, but you know, we're getting into this. Let's full screen it. Please don't flag me like the last video, bro.
Otaku lifestyle by going to conventions and buying body pillows, which doesn't hurt anybody, except if you happen to smell them. But some otakus have become a little too obsessed to the point that they commit vile acts. And trust me, it gets crazy. Our young generation is clearly lost, man. Just imagine for once that you're a pretty smart student who has so far lived a pretty ordinary life. One day in class, you just happen to find a book that just falls out of the sky. When you go to pick it up, you realize that it isn't Harry Potter, which you could have sold on Craigslist, but something else. A book that is able to the person whose name is written in it. Now imagine you're also a hidden genius psychopath who decides to use this book to cleanse the world of all criminals. And because of all these sudden...
Ain't this Death Note? Wait, it is, right?
Deaths of bad people, you also build a small fan base of people who like what you're doing and call you Kira. That is the plot of Death Note, the second most popular anime ever. Light Yagami, aka Kira, plays the psychopathic dude
I was gonna sneeze so bad in years.
To get caught. Now there are tons of people obsessed with this anime and Light Yagami. For some reason, people just really like the whole psychopath genius type of character. At around 6 p.m. on September 28th, 2007, two hikers find a human body and two legs in a park in Belgium. There's nothing else on their body, no personal items or anything that would identify him or the...
Wait, hold on. Is Death Note that old? 2007. Hold on. See, now I gotta check out because I did not know it was that old. When did Death Note come out? Bro, look when this joint come out. Wait. It came out 2006 in Japan and released in the UK in 2008. Are you like kidding me? Wait, so I did not know it was this old. Oh my gosh. Hey, back to the video, bro.
Were found nearby with the message saying "Watashi wa Kira desu," which roughly translates to "I am Kira." Shit's crazy. A real dead person next to a Death Note reference. That was not the only mention of anime or Japan though. Once the police arrived, they also discovered a trail left by the killers in the form of a 160-foot line of rice that led to a symbol that is supposed to be something in Japanese. Not sure what it's supposed to mean though, I can't lie. Now the police had no proper leads at all. The detectives concluded that the body was either a few days old when found or had been stored in some sort of freezer.
Bro. This can't be real, right? This is gotta be a hoax.
His sack were cut with almost surgical precision, and the only thing that they could identify was the fact that it was a Caucasian guy between 20 and 30 years old. There was no missing person matching that description. And the only witness was some jogger who said that she saw some blonde man lying down in the area where the body was discovered. This broke the media, and so there were a lot of speculations that the police was just throwing around, such as it being a prank by medical students because of the surgical precision. And the date of the discovery matched the beginning of the school year. The University of Brussels argued though that it would be almost impossible for a whole body to just disappear without anybody noticing, so that wasn't a good lead. Imagine you could just walk in there, take a body, and nobody would notice. Wouldn't seem like a very safe university. Other people thought it might be the work of a psychopath serial killer that was active between 1996 and 1997, the so-called Butcher of Mons, where 5 women were found in garbage bags without the killer ever being identified.
That's a crazy sentence to start with. All that murdering, they were never found, so they're just out here. Hold on, yeah. Okay, we're still going. I thought the stream stopped.
It got really crazy. Like, listen to this. The location of the victim was very close to the highest point of Brussels. Possibly a symbolic location since Kira acts as a god of death in the manga. That was out of the actual wiki of the case. Might as well just say that Kira got reincarnated into this world. On November 24th, the police announced that they reached a dead end on the 2-month-old case. And the media was low-key geeked. A murder that nobody could solve, referring to Death Note, and they just wouldn't find any conclusion to the case.
Could you imagine?
3 entire years later,
Oh, here we
around
go.
September of 2010, the police managed to arrest 4 suspects linked to this case. 3 people for the actual and 1 person for failing to provide assistance to a person in danger. It turns out
No
that
way.
the deceased person actually lived with multiple of the at the time of the disappearance. An argument broke out between them and the victim refused to leave the apartment when asked, and so it turned physical. They supposedly beat the person until he passed and tried to dissolve the body in the drain cleaner. Some vile stuff. When they came back
In the
some days
drain
later,
cleaner.
according to one of the killers, it stank and was bluish, so they cut the body into pieces. They tried to burn it, but eventually decided to scatter the remainings in the park. In June 2013,
Why was
2
that
of the
the
4 suspects were convicted and received sentences of 20 years. A third suspect was convicted to 23 years since she went on the run after appearing in court for only 1 day. You've gotta be crazy if you're trying to run from this case. Now,
Bro,
the real
why?
question is actually, why were there multiple notes saying I am Kira? Well, it turns out they were just really big fans of the manga and anime, and so they decided to leave them there. And they didn't even spell the sentence correctly. They wrote Watashi wa Kira desu, but it's supposed to be Watashi wa Kira desu. I'm no Japanese, bro, though, so
Oh
I'm
my
just
gosh.
repeating what my sources say.
Relax, bro.
2015, Japan. Maya Tomita is
Relax.
20 years old, studying business and pursuing her passion in the entertainment industry. She has already made a small name for herself by appearing in the TV drama Secret Girls, which was basically a show about these girls living a secret double life as a Japanese idol group. Kind of like Batman, but with more singing and less fighting crime, I think.
Okay.
But after doing a few side gigs here and there, she decided to become an independent artist and musician. In order to gain popularity,
Fair.
since she was still pretty underground, she traveled to different restaurants and venues to play her songs. During these shows, she slowly builds up her following and meets a ton of new people, including Tomohiro Iwasaki.
He just looks like he's gonna do something bad, bro. He's punching you in the neck and taking your lunch money. He's taking your sandwich or something.
Around 26 when he first discovers her. He is essentially
26.
the polar opposite of Tomita. Her professors describe Tomita as having this very bubbly personality and being very kind and outgoing in general. Iwasaki, on the other hand, has basically isolated himself for the past years. He barely has any friends or social interactions in general. He's like the role model of 4chan users. His brother describes him as unskilled in expressing his emotions, but also a gentle and childlike soul. From the first time he saw her, Iwasaki really liked Tomita, and she wouldn't be the first person he would later become absolutely obsessed with.
Oh my gosh.
Iwasaki had a history of stalking idols and documenting their every move on his blog, where he would share all his thoughts and feelings. And he was a very passionate individual.
Why?
It would escalate to a point where multiple police reports would be filed against him for following idols in real life and sending them threats. But the worst crime would have yet to come. Like with all the other Japanese idols, Iwasaki quickly became infatuated with Tomita. He would start off as a passionate fan of her and her work, giving her chocolates and little gifts after her performances, which could still be seen as quite normal. I mean, fans give stuff to their idols or role models all the time. But as time went on, he became more and more obsessed. In 2016, after giving her various gifts ranging from flowers to weird-ass books, he built up this fantasy that they're gonna become a thing somehow. I mean, he gave her so many cool things, right? So Iwasaki would decide to propose to her in the restaurant she would perform at that night, with his biggest gift yet, a very expensive gold watch, along with random books. So far, Tomita has been quite nice to him, accepting his gifts and all that, but she obviously couldn't marry this guy. They never even talked outside of her performing, so she rejected him, but she gave him his Twitter so he could check out what she was doing more often, and somehow that seemed to satisfy Iwasaki. Although he was very isolated from everyone essentially, and seemed like the perfect guy to...
Still weird by today's standards, but I guess it's better than killing her.
He actually only used Ameba. I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest. A Japanese social networking and blogging platform. So getting access to her Twitter seemed like something very intimate to him, although it definitely wasn't. And so he followed Tomita and a friend of hers, who also performed that night he proposed. Right away, this guy started tweeting like crazy. I'm talking dozens of tweets in a day. Also his idol and her friend. By now, Tomita was more than creeped out and knew that if she actually responded to him, she would only feed more into Iwasaki's fantasies. So she just straight up ignored him. Her friend, though, initially replied to Iwasaki, since she probably didn't know that he literally attended almost every single one of Tomita's concerts.
Nah, this is gonna end bad.
In general. But even she stopped talking to him after a while, and being ignored for all that time kind of flipped a switch in him, which made his love for Mayu Tomita turn into hatred. He proceeded to spam her Twitter with over...
Bro. People really gotta go outside, like really go outside and do something. Go for a walk. Go ride a bike, bro. This is weird, dude. See, it's the kids of this generation's. You lot on something. You on that different stuff, bro.
400 messages telling her that she's looking down on him, that she's ungrateful, and he even threatened her life. In order to bring an end to all this, she decided to return the expensive watch he gave her and blocked him on Twitter at the end of April. That would be 12 days before the attack. On the
Oh
9th
my
of
gosh,
May
bro, really went out there
2016,
to attack her,
Tamina
you know.
decided to file a police report against him since she did not feel safe at all. The police didn't really do anything though, since it did not fall under Japan's stalking laws back in the day, and they didn't think that harassment on social media was a serious enough threat. Police
Wait.
really was on D in a day, and they didn't
Anti-stalking laws in Japan did not include harassment on social media. Okay, at the time.
think that harassment on social media was a
Okay.
serious enough threat.
In
Police really was on
2016,
D
really?
They did not care at all. At this point, Iwasaki has gone absolutely mental. Because Tomita blocked him, he spam messaged her friends on Twitter, demanding all of the gifts back now. The chocolate, the weird books, the flowers, he wanted all of that back. Brody, how
Why
do you
kids
expect
like that?
chocolate to be returned? But
Right?
what can you actually expect from a guy like him? Even though this was a very stressful
He
time
looks
for
the type.
Tomita and all her loved ones, she had to keep it pushing. She was trying to make it as a singer after all. So on May 21st, she was set to perform at an event called Solid Girls Night.
Bro, look how they've got like everything laid out. This is just asking for a problem. Is that the stage layout? It has to be right. Yeah, this ain't gonna
In
end
Volume
well.
11, she publicly announced that she would be there.
Oh,
so
she did it
was
herself.
obviously
Okay.
kinda scared that Iwasaki might pull up, and her worst nightmare became a reality. Before she could even enter the venue, Iwasaki confronted Tomita and asked her why she returned all of the gifts. Tomita was obviously frightened as a and gave a vague answer before trying to run away. When she turned around, Iwasaki stabbed her from behind in the chest and neck area 61
way.
times with a 3.1-inch knife. He allegedly screamed, "You should die," while doing that. Eyewitnesses immediately called the police after hearing Tomita scream for help and arrested Iwasaki. You can see in the pictures, this guy doesn't seem to feel any type.
Bro, what are these kids of today on, bro? Freaky flat face frog, bro. Oh yeah, put him away, bro.
Of remorse or shock at all. This is a genuine psychopath, bro. Tomita was in critical condition, but God knows how, Iwasaki didn't manage to damage any vital organs. So she managed to survive
sick.
and regain consciousness on June 7th,
What organs
2016.
then?
She lived. Unfortunately though, her dream of becoming a popular singer has been destroyed, since she had problems even talking or using her
the most important thing is that you right? Sponsorship became. She felt like I don't know what to come. Fair
fans.
enough.
She also suffered
Fair.
from PTSD, so imagine going
That I
on
could
stage with that.
completely
The police later on
understand.
issued an apology for not doing anything when she was literally begging for help, saying that
See?
they didn't know that the harassment was happening outside of social media as well. Iwasaki only received 14 years, but it actually led to Japan changing their anti-stalking laws to
14
include online
years.
harassment on social media as well. So there was at least some
National. Wait, let's say national diet. Huh? Hey, let me just skip over that. I'm thinking, what does dieting got to do with this? But it must be something else. When did they change this? In 2016. And he did 14 years. Hey, bro, be home soon. They're playing
something
games,
positive coming
bro.
out of this. Now this was an insane case of obsession, but this next case had even more casualties.
Our young generation is clearly lost.
Kyoto
Right.
Animations is one of the greatest animation studios in Japan. It was the
I love that. I love this anime actually.
main publisher of a ton of insane animes, including K-On!, A Silent Voice, Free, and a bunch more. The company has multiple locations throughout Japan, but this story is about
Yeah, they've got
Studio One,
some.
the
They got some
building
dope
actually
animes.
dedicated to the animation side of things. It's 2018 and Kyoto Animation suddenly experiences an influx of hate messages. It starts off
What?
as threats and slander, but as time goes on, the messages develop into threats, even mentioning specific staff that are working for Kyoto Animation. This whole thing escalates to the
What did
point
these
that in
niggas do?
October of 2018, the company went to the police to investigate. The Kyoto
Okay.
police tried to find out who was behind these, at this point, hundreds of death threats, but couldn't pinpoint any person, as the creator used Tor to hide their information, kind of like the dark web type of alley. And so the police just kind of gave up. I mean, they're just empty threats after all, right? This would be the potential foreshadowing to one of the most tragic things happening in the anime industry ever.
Oh,
Shinji
no.
Aoba, 41 at the time, was staying at an internet cafe on July 16. According to eyewitnesses, he was seen walking around the area close to the animation studio, kind of just cooking up his plan, I guess. 2 days later, on the morning of July the 18th, Aoba walks into the studio, carrying 11 gallons of gasoline. He basically soaks the entire area, including several employees, before igniting it. He sets multiple employees on fire, including him, during the process.
What an
Right away,
idiot.
The fire results in an explosion at around 10:31 a.m. due to the gasoline mixing with the air or something. I'm not a chemist. And Aoba supposedly screams "die" repeatedly as he carries out his act.
Is he?
Fire grows
Bro's on fire, screaming die. Like, buddy, this is going terribly wrong already.
by the entrance as Aoba just walked in there, and it traps the entire staff inside the building. Some workers try to escape through the second and third floors, but the explosion caused the floors to be filled with smoke within 30 seconds,
Oh
making
my
escape
gosh.
almost impossible. 5 hours later and the fire is under control, but it's only extinguished the next day at 6 a.m. The building had no fire sprinklers or anything due to it being classified as a small office building.
Oh,
Just
no.
crazy to think about. Now, before I talk about the aftermath of all of this, which is absolutely insane, why did Shinji Aoba do all this? Did he not like the anime they produced? Was he just batshit crazy? Well, as I already said, he lit himself on too during the process.
Right, so
had
did
to
he
be rushed
die?
to the hospital with severe burns. While being
Oh my
transported
God,
there,
lucky him.
he admitted to having started the fire, and he actually admitted doing it because of plagiarism. You heard me right? Because of plagiarism. He accused the studio of stealing ideas from his novel. Aoba had submitted a draft novel to the studio, but it didn't even pass the first stage of assessment and was forgotten. But he was still convinced that they stole stuff from his work. Now let me just read out the scenes that were supposedly stolen. His main accusation was that in the anime Tsurune, there's a character in episode 5 who buys meat at a 20% discount. And his novel also happened to have a scene where the hero buys something at a 50% discount. That's it.
I wish I had a soundboard right here to press like buttons to share my frustration, but I don't. That is like in almost every anime. There's a shop, cooking scene, they're buying something, there's a store meetup scene. What are we doing, bro? Because basically because of the percentage sign was different, man saying that it was enough to set people on fire.
Now there are also some other scenes that were supposedly stolen. So in the anime Free, right, there's the scene where a school banner reads "Swimming Club advanced to regional tournament." Aoba's novel apparently included a few scenes where banners appear too. This guy's not serious. And the
Yeah,
last
he's
scene
crazy,
was where
bro.
a character in K-On! Says to a junior, "I repeated the
I've actually got the hard copy, first edition of this. I need the rest because it was actually such a good read.
great." And in Aoba's story, there's a scene where a high school boy is told by his teacher, "If you continue like this, you'll repeat the grade." Those were all the scenes
Tryna
that
lean
were
out the way for
apparently
you, man.
plagiarized. It's not like they happen to have the exact same concepts in terms of story or have very similar characters. They happen to have similar scenes, but they were completely different animes. The amount of times an anime girl punches a guy in the face, animation studios would be accused of plagiarism all the time.
Right.
So let's talk
That's what I'm
about the
saying.
disaster he actually
Oh
created.
my
70
gosh,
people
bro.
were inside the studio at the time of the fire.
Please don't tell
36
us.
employees, most of them
Oh
almost
my
instantly
gosh.
recovered to severe burns, and some of them because of the carbon monoxide a couple days later. Among some of the deceased were Naomi Ishida, a color designer who has worked for the company since 1992. She was the first victim who was identified as. Also, Yasuhiro Takemoto, who was an animator, scriptwriter, and director in the fire. He's worked at Kyoto Animation for almost his entire career. And Yoshiji Kigami, a giant in the industry,
Bro.
a veteran who has worked on films like Akira and Studio Ghibli's Grave of the Fireflies. The
Such a
world
good
of
anime.
and Japan lost so many important people that day because of this man. This event was one of the deadliest massacres in Japan since
Why?
the end of World War II. Now, Aoba was transferred to a university hospital, and he received all the necessary surgery to survive. After 4 months of recovery, he
Should've
was
let bro
able to
die.
talk and wasn't in critical condition
Look at
anymore.
him.
He got artificial skin and the whole package. After recovering, he said that he regretted his actions and was thankful for the staff, who treated him better than anyone has ever before. Could have thought about that before doing
Bro,
that.
I firmly believe sometimes the death penalty is necessary. I don't care how you feel about it. Sometimes people got to go. This is one of the people that's got to go, bro. We need to get him completely out of here. There's no reason for him to... 36 people. If this man can't get less than This man can't get less than a life sentence. I'm sorry.
Big Bro. On December 16th, he was charged with attempted murder and a bunch of other things. And it turns
Yeah.
out the novel might have just set off this behavior, but wasn't actually the cause of it, since Aoba had a prior criminal history and suffered from mental illness. In 2012, for example, he robbed a convenience store with a knife and was jailed for 3.5 years. And he did that just because, I guess.
Bro, this nigga been to prison, bro, 3.5 years for robbing a shop, and then you go to murder like on a huge scale. Lock him up, bro.
This whole court thing takes quite a while, but in January of 2024, he was finally sentenced, and he received
Bro, I'm not gonna say it.
the death penalty, which he accepted. Pretty crazy if you think about it. They saved his life and proceeded to do surgery on him for months just to give him the death sentence. But I digress. After the attack, some
No,
of the
that's a
employees who
sentence.
were involved
That's
in
how
this
you do
tragedy
it.
returned to work at the other location of Kyoto Animation. But obviously, some of them took extended breaks to deal with the stress and trauma, and the building was demolished.
Our young generation is
Wow, that is
It's
so
4
sad.
p.m. The police in Tokyo receive a call that a man has been stabbed. Once they arrive at the scene, they find a person seated on the floor. It's
Bro, this is in Japan, you know. This is like the land of like respect and, you know, cleanliness. Oh man, these murders are crazy, bro.
an attractive young woman sitting in the lobby of her building, but her legs and hands are covered in blood. She's sitting next to the man who's slowly out, literally just chilling with a phone in her hand. That woman was Yuka Takaoka. When all of this happened, Takaoka was a manager at a hostess club. A hostess club is
Okay.
basically a place Japanese men go to get their ego stroked. They go in, the girls working there pretend like they're the king of the world and make them buy drinks and spend money. There's also some spicy stuff going on behind the scenes, but
Freaky
most of the
stuff,
time
you know.
it's really just talking and drinking. Imagine feeling like Justin Bieber in his prime, but you just pay for that feeling instead. Takaoka's job was kind of just overseeing the place and trying to milk out as much money out of these men as possible. Now on the side, Takaoka was also a
Bro,
huge
what is this
anime
been
fan.
talking
Who would've
about?
thought? Whole videos about otakus. She would do the
Hey,
typical
shout out
thing
to
of
Rico,
cosplaying
bro.
characters and stuff like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. There was one type of character though she seemed to cosplay the most: yanderes. If you're chronically online, you know what those are, but if not,
Yeah.
yanderes are basically these girls in animes, or I guess also in real life, who are overly in love with somebody. Like that next level stuff. Anybody who gets near their crush gets stabbed and they become all crazy. That's like the whole
Golly.
story of the game Yandere Simulator, right? You're
Oh, this game is crazy. I might run this game, bro. I actually might want to try run this one.
this girl who kills everybody and anything who stands in the way of your love. Now let's get back to the hostess club.
Oh my
Those are
gosh.
designed for Japanese men to talk to women. But there's also the female counterpart, host clubs. Women
Okay.
go there to just forget about reality and talk to young men. And in one of those host clubs, Phoenix Luna had just started working
I'm about that quality, bro. Gay stuffing, ladies, you know.
there as a host to make a living. It's obviously not his real name though. Even though he just started out, he actually managed to do pretty decently as a host. He was number 4 and for quite some time number 3 in terms of popularity, which didn't result in a lot of money, but it was enough to survive since he was also able to sleep there. He just kind of had that nice
Fair
look
enough.
to him. I mean, he's not an ugly guy, no did he? So one
Is that just not the hairstyle of like this generation of children? No? Like everyone has that haircut, I swear.
night, Yuka Takaoka decided that work was pretty draining as a manager, so she just wanted to relax a little and get some male attention, and so she went to a fusion nightclub, the host club where Luna worked at. Now it was just something about this guy that caught Takaoka's
Okay.
attention, and so she chose him to entertain her for the night. She spends some money, has a pleasant night, and then goes home. As transactional as it gets, basically. It's like somebody subbing
Okay.
to a big streamer. They get $5 and you get to see your name on the screen for a split second. But Takaoka
Hey, you
just
know.
keeps thinking about this man. So
Double
she decides to
transaction.
return to the club over and over again. You gotta know, for the past years, Takaoka has only been focusing on stacking her bread.
Oops.
So she has some money to spend, at least for a while.
Uh.
So she goes in there and buys champagne after champagne. And the person who kind of makes her buy those drinks earns a commission, right? So Phoenix Luna is pretty happy about making more money. After a while, Takaoka notices
Bro.
that Luna is only ranked 4 on the leaderboard, and so she decides to spend even more money on him to get him up those ranks. And I'm not talking about a few $100s here and there. She spent up to 10k a month on Luna, which got him to
Bro.
rank 1 on the leaderboard within a month. They spend so much time
Imagine having 10k to spend and splash and do dumb stuff with. Spend 10k on me, bro. I get my PC fixed. I'm good. Promise you, bro.
together that Takaoka builds up this fantasy that if she just keeps spending money on him, he would eventually be able to quit his
You're not gonna give me 10. You can give me 2, bro. Just 2.
job and they could be a couple. Some down bad fantasy right there. This delusion escalated to a point where she would pay him to go on dates with her and paid extra money so she could reserve him every time she visited
You know what I mean?
the club. Now Luna obviously kind of plays along since he's making decent money at this point, and it's kind of the job of
Decent
somebody
money.
working there to be like a pretend boyfriend. And
Uh-oh.
Takaoka would kind of know that since she literally works in the industry herself. But I guess if you got those pink glasses on, you can't be stopped. She
Is TikTok banned in America yet? Is it banned everywhere else yet? Because if she's doing that, just get rid of it, bro.
proceeded to rent
Just-
a whole apartment near Luna's club so they can move in together. And I guess Luna kind of
Whoa.
agreed to live there a part-time. This is the part
Is
where
this
she
boy
actually
dumb?
turns full-on yandere herself. She gets so jealous of his work that she tells him that every time he meets a woman who's paying for his services, if you know what I mean, he should call and tell her. Remember, this man is not in a relationship with Takaoka at all. She's just paying him to pretend. Imagine a tier 3 subtales Pokemon that she can't get in a relationship because he's her biggest fan.
You ain't funny.
But Luna kind of plays along because he's a sweet guy, and so he agrees to do so. On May 23rd,
Let me not say nothing about
2019,
that person.
Luna calls Takaoka and tells her, hey, I'm meeting with another woman, strictly business, you know what I'm saying? Just wanted to let you know, even though this is literally the exact thing she told him to do, Takaoka goes mad. So mad that she makes up a plan to self-exit. But she's also like, if he's going to, might as well take him with me so they can be happy in the afterlife. Kind of like Romeo and Juliet type of story. All this time, Luna obviously said, I love you and stuff like that to her, but even she knew that he just did that because he got paid to do so. And in her head, if they both passed, his statements might become
I thought I would kill him because I thought it was how I could be with him. Especially so that I like you and I would like to couldn't become a reality if he's
a reality. So she pretends like she didn't just come up with the most twisted, evil plan ever and tells him to go over to their apartment so he can help her clean the place. After they do that, and also for some change, he takes a bath to just kind of unwind and relax.
I just
While
got
he's
it. Okay.
taking a snap, Takaoka decides to snoop through his phone and finds pictures of another woman at the nightclub with him. Those weren't even explicit or anything, just photos that align with his work, right? Luna steps out of the tub to go to sleep in the actual bed of the
No.
apartment, and it's all good. That night, Takaoka waits until about 3:50 a.m. to ensure he's really asleep. She takes out a knife and stabs him in his stomach. He obviously instantly wakes up, shocked that he literally has something in his body, and before being able to push her away, Takaoka sits on top of him, asking him if he really liked her. I think in this situation, every guy would do the same thing, and he just tells her, I love you, and then pushes her to the side. He runs towards the elevator to try to get out of the building.
Please
ASAP,
survive,
and
bro.
Takaoka follows him after grabbing some things. Luna loses consciousness though, and so Takaoka literally drags his body to the lobby of their residence and just sits next to him, waiting for him
What?
to. Now a random woman just walks by and sees all of this and is shocked to her core. First thing you gotta do is obviously take a picture, and then she calls the police. In the picture you can see Takaoka on her phone talking
Bro,
to
I hate social media because before we do something serious, like people gotta take a picture, someone's dying. What's wrong with us, bro? When did that become the flex, bro? This guy's dying, but my view just, oh my
God
god.
knows who without a care in the world.
Oops,
Nobody
that
does
was so
anything to stop
loud.
her, though, since they don't know what she's actually capable of. I mean, I would definitely not go near a
Whoa, Jamal. Hey, RDC and them niggas, bro. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, literally, just imagine someone's, and I'm doing this. Just for a few seconds, like, oh my gosh, there's a guy lying on the floor, dying. Okay, then I'd, oh my gosh, I hope your phone blows up in your mouth. It proof what didn't happen, that's exactly it. That is exactly it.
girl sitting next to a grown man who's slowly acting like everything is sunshine and rainbows. And that brings us back to the beginning. Police
Okay.
arrive and arrest her, and she actually doesn't put up any sort of fight. While she's in the police car, you can literally see her smiling. Like
What
she
is
enjoyed this.
going on,
Now
bro?
comes probably the most obscure thing ever. Following this attack, Takaoka basically builds a huge following because she's somewhat attractive. Like, what? It's like the guy who ran over who ended up getting like edits made of him. She got fan art. People just
You see, like, we need like an internet curfew. Like 9 o'clock, internet gone. If you're under a certain age, gone. pay monthly for the literal. Let me not.
described her
Just
as too
just do
beautiful
that to the
be
internet for
criminal.
some people,
All
bro.
of that. In December of 2019, she got 3.5 years in prison for attempted. Only 3.
So basically, if I go to
3 years for all of that. The good side is Luna was able to recover from his heavy injuries. He regained consciousness 5 days after the attack, even though the
Okay.
doctor said that he only had a 20% chance of surviving. But obviously he wasn't able to talk, eat.
no voice, was couldn't eat after this, and I got Dutch.
Walk or do anything essentially for
Imagine.
quite some time. But after recovering from
Excuse
all
me.
that, as far as I know, he actually came back to the industry. He still works in the same host bar, but it's like way more popular now since everybody knows his story. The one downside is that his liver doesn't work anymore, and so he can't drink alcohol, but he can probably live with that. And this guy's some kind of
Damn.
saint. Luna agreed to do an interview with some reporters, right? And he literally said that he fully forgives her for what she did. This guy's like an angel or something. Now let's talk about Takaoka. This all happened in 2019 and she got 3 years. Doing some basic maths,
Bro.
she's
She's out, right?
been out there and she actually posts quite regularly on her Instagram.
No
still doing
way,
cosplays and stuff
bro.
like that. And she also streamed like Pokemon and stuff.
Our young generation is
I want people to understand this. She almost took somebody out, and she's on Twitch. I'm sorry, you couldn't stab me and then be back on Twitch. After 3 years of being locked up. I'm coming to.
clearly lost, man.
Junji Matsumoto was born in 1962 in, who'd have guessed, Japan. You could describe him as a typical introvert kind of nerd type of guy. He didn't really talk much, and when somebody asked him something in class, he would just straight up not respond or go to the bathroom as an excuse. He really was just in his own world for real. For example, one time in class, he was asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he just didn't say a word, probably just stared at the teacher. Later, when the classmate asked him in private what he wanted to do, he said he wanted to be a scientist, since he was
3.5 years, you come out, you get on Twitch, and hey, bro, I'll see you in there, man. I can't believe 3.5 years. Stab someone, you do your time, and you go out, and first thing you. In America, that would have just been 20-year sentence. That would have just been life in prison. Cool. Oh my gosh, I can't believe people get away with
pretty
things
good
like
at
that.
math and science. So he might have been a shy kid, but he at least had something going for him. He could focus on becoming a scientist and just live a normal life. Unfortunately, he would experience an episode of events that
So,
would
alright,
lead
bro,
him to defeat both of his parents. After
I'm
graduating
assuming
high
it's
school, he
on
secured a job for a little bit, but
Discord?
quit since he couldn't adjust to the workplace, probably because of shyness or anxiety, and he just kind of stopped looking for jobs. Instead, he now spends most of his time watching
Is it
anime,
Discord?
reading manga,
Is it on? If
and
it's on
helping out at the
Discord, then
liquor
I'll
store that his
check
mother
it.
runs alongside his big
I
bro.
hope.
He has no sort of friends, and his family are really the only people he actually talks to. It's safe to say he doesn't really have any plan on what to do with his life, and he continues this exact lifestyle for 30 years. 30 years of watching anime, reading manga, and sometimes helping out at the store. And now comes the first unlucky event. His brother is hospitalized because of some sort of illness, which leaves Junji's mom and Junji to run the store now. But things just don't really work out after
I got it.
other
I
corporations
found it.
around the area slowly open up stores. Junji can't really operate things, and the parents are quite old now, so they decide to close the shop and retire. I mean, he's around 49 when this happens, so his parents are getting up there as well. Respect to the grind, but at one point you gotta hang it up, right? So they're both retired.
Hold on, I'm
and his
gonna get
dad
back to
kinda
him
runs
because I
the
don't want to be rude.
household since his wife is not physically able to do so. Here comes
Okay,
the
he's got a
second
wife, though.
unfortunate event. On June 13th, 2021, Hirokazu, the dad, who's now in his 80s, just rides his bike when he gets into an accident. And you know how quickly older people can break bones and stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy that he's even able to ride a bike at that age. But the father ends up being wheelchair bound nonetheless. With his brother hospitalized for 10 years now, and his dad being in a wheelchair, it is now fully Junji's responsibility to take care of his parents and the household. And he's overwhelmed. He suddenly has to attend to them 24/7. Every time they gotta go to the toilet, he has to help them. When they need to take a shower, he's gotta help them. And something like a retirement home is out of the question, since they do
So
not have the funds
expensive.
to support that at all. Matter of fact, he uses the money that they saved up over the decades to buy the food and all that, since he hasn't had a job that actually paid him since he was 19. It really seems like a dead end. Now let's talk
What the
about
hell
the
was he
most
doing?
unfortunate event. On June 20th,
Alright,
2021,
bro. I think I got it.
Junji
I
was
got
just
him.
watching
I got
his
him.
favorite anime. Probably like my little sister can't be this cute. Enough with the jokes. This is really sad. He watches
Whoa.
this anime to kind of escape reality for a bit, and his father asks him to help him to the toilet, as usual. But there's a really good scene happening right now, so Junji just tries to ignore him. His father really needs to go though, so he's kind of complaining and annoying him, if you can put it like that.
Please don't
He
tell me he
asks him
kills his dad.
over and over again, until Junji snaps. He's so fed up with his father that he grabs an electrical cord and just starts him. His dad kind of squirms around and tries to stop it, but Junji continues. And all that is left now is his father's soulless. Junji doesn't just live with his father though, right? His mother witnessed everything as well.
Oh
So
my
in his
gosh,
head, he
bro.
needs to get rid of her too. He's now left with two in front of him. He grabs them and puts them into the big ass empty fridge that used to be part of the liquor store. He shoves them in there and just tapes the door shut. Jesus Christ, bro, this stuff is disturbing. After the
Right.
adrenaline probably kind of wears off, he realizes that he had just become a criminal, even though he just wanted to watch his anime. He does not want to go to jail though, probably because he wouldn't be able to watch his anime. So he
Right.
devises a plan to escape. After the incident, he calls off all appointments that his parents had. He calls off the rehab for his mother, and he
What?
postpones the visit of the welfare guys who would have come to the home to check up on
To
them.
check,
On June
yeah.
23rd, he takes all the credit cards of his parents and withdraws everything he can out of there, and then he leaves. There's a mix of him riding his bike and taking trains, but he essentially travels from one side of Japan to the other side, sleeping in different hotels, motels, whatever he could probably find. While he's gone, his relatives actually try calling them multiple times, but
Damn.
obviously nobody picks up. And so after a while of calling them,
This
they
is
call
so
the police
crazy.
instead for a wellness check. They knew that Junji was under a lot of pressure and was kind of, closed off, not really the guy to talk and stuff. So on June 28th, the police checks up on them. Upon entering the house,
They can smell
notice
it.
this weird stench coming from the fridge.
Straight
and when
away.
they open it, they find this. This is a 3D model of how the were inside the fridge.
No way.
Damn. So they find both of the parents, but they don't know where the last person is.
That is
Junji.
so
I mean,
sad.
in their heads, everything could have happened to him. He might have been kidnapped or also met the same fate as the parents. So they ask around. They interview the neighbors and stuff like that. And they all
Bro.
tell them Junji was kind of acting weird lately. And somebody spotted him riding his bike. And that leads to a
The
nationwide
manhunt.
search for him. The police
That's
looks
what
at
you
security
deserve,
camera
bro.
footage.
Get that
They
manhunt
ask
going.
hotels and all of that. And through that, they actually managed to track him down pretty easily. On July
Damn.
4th, 2021, they find him in a hotel parking lot in Kyoto. They first
2021,
arrested
you know.
him for leaving corpses without reporting it or something, which you obviously should do, but he quickly admits that he was actually the one who did them. And not gonna lie, this next part is just really, really depressing. During his trial, the prosecutor asks him about his family, and he basically describes how his mother suffered from a lumbar fracture. I don't know what that's
Okay.
either, but her back probably hurt so much that she said she didn't want to live anymore. And his father developed dementia in early 2021. And when he asked Junji to help him use the toilet, all that pent-up frustration and pressure just exploded.
That's so sad,
and he
bro.
didn't care about the repercussions of his actions. During
That
the
is
trial,
just
there
so
were also
sad.
talks about him having a personality disorder, which made him so shy and isolated from everybody, but that didn't really change the result of the sentence. On the 6th of I don't know, to be honest, because the article doesn't say what 6th, but I'm guessing on the 6th of July, he was
Damn.
sentenced to 30 years in prison for alongside some other things.
It's a good sentence.
Clearly lost, man.
Tsutomu Miyazaki started off like almost every single person on this
Okay,
list. He was
okay.
born in 1962 in Japan, and during his childhood, he kept to himself a lot. He was bullied in school and didn't have a lot of friends, or
Fair.
any friends. And the reason for that is actually because of something entirely out of his control. He had a hand deformity which made his hand appear claw-like. I couldn't find a real close-up of his actual hand, since a lot of people use this picture, which doesn't even have anything to do with this case, but you can kind of see his hand right here. Because he was kind of an outcast, he spent a lot of time reading manga and watching anime. And like a lot of pubescent teenagers, he also dabbled in spicy content and horror movies as well. But as time went on, he gradually started watching more violent and graphic stuff. But I'll
Here
get
we
there.
go.
Now, although Tsutomu was kind of a loner, from the outside it actually looked like his life was pretty nice. He was born into a wealthy family. They ran a newspaper business, and they were actually quite well known in the area.
So these niggas was paid, bro. What's with these kids like that coming from money, wanting to seek revenge? You like Batman, bro. Do something good with your life.
Originally, he was a straight A student. He attended a very prestigious high school and was basically a 5-star recruit, but for academics basically. He wanted to study English to become a teacher. Pretty wholesome so far. But of course the outside often does not reflect the inside. People flex designer stuff even though they're dead broke. And Tsutomu felt the same way.
Nearly everybody.
His parents were always working. They put so much pressure on him to perform well in school. He still had no friends, and the only person he actually talked to was his grandfather, who was basically raising him. And all that just accumulates over time. You can tell that he started to show cracks when his grades dropped, and they dropped dramatically. He went from a rising star to rank 40 out of 56, which is pretty bad if you can't tell. Now, the high school he attended was connected to a university, so if you do well enough, you can just kind of transition and study the thing you want to study. In his case, English, right? But his grades dropped so low that he couldn't get in, so he had to attend a random local college instead, and decided to become a photography technician out of nowhere. And you really gotta remember these small details, because once I reach the end, all these little facts will have such a compounding effect. Tsutomu studied photography or whatever.
Got crazy, started taking pictures of girls that escalated. He went crazy, killed somebody, took picture of the body. Watch.
And during this time, his obsession with weird media started growing. Apparently in college, he would take not so appropriate photos of female players on the tennis court and be an absolute fiend for spicy magazines. But according to him, they became boring after a while, since they black out the most important part. So he would go down the route of
most
seeking more
important
extreme
part, you
stuff,
know.
such as media including people not of age. He really
Oh,
fell into the
no.
depths of full-fledged degeneracy. And this is only the beginning. At home, he still felt like nobody in his family really cared about his happiness or anything. They were only focused on material things and the business, which actually drove him to be quite depressed. And during that time, in the mid-1980s, so when he was in his 20s, he actually considered self-exiting. His grandfather managed to talk him out of that though. Unfortunately, in 1988, his grandfather would pass away. His only source of sincere human connection was gone now. The worst
that's
thing
gonna
that
be
could
tough.
ever happen to him during this period happened. Simultaneously, his grandfather was probably the only one who kept Tsutomu's dark thoughts in check, so he had no person who would regulate him now. And considering that
Bro, some of these people really need to reach out.
it means taking pictures of women, you can kinda guess where this leads. His change of personality was noticeable from the get-go. He began spying on his little sisters and attacked them when they confronted him. When his mother caught wind of it, she also said that he should watch less of his videotapes, that at this point contained increasingly more vile and graphic stuff. Like the anime and horror tapes definitely were not the mainstream type, let's put it this way. He wasn't watching My Neighbor Totoro, okay? And in order to feel closer to his grandpa, that he understandably very much missed, he would also eat some of his ashes. But as crazy as it sounds, the worst has yet to come. It's August 22nd, 1988, and Mari Kono, who's 4 at the time, is just playing at a friend's house. And Tsutomu takes notice of this girl. I would really love to say that he just went on with his day and all is good, but instead he decides to lure her in his black Nissan, and he drives off with Mari. He drives for a while and eventually parks the car under a bridge. For 30 minutes they just sit in the car and do nothing until he decides to murder her and does some unspeakable things after. When he's done, he dumps the body near his house and lets it decompose before
dumps the body near his house. Why can't people leave these babies alone, bro?
keeping some parts as a trophy in his apartment. He then decides to send a box to Mari's family, including several teeth, grounded bones, and photos of clothing. And I think you can imagine who they belong to. This absolute psychopath also sends a postcard that reads, Mari, bones, cremated, investigate, proof. This happens a total of 4 times. October 3rd, 1988. Tsutomu spots Masami Yoshizawa, who's 7 at the time. He offers Masami a ride, which she unfortunately accepts. He drives to the same place that he brought Mari to and her. He does the same unspeakable things to her, takes her clothes, and returns home. December 12th, 1988. Erika Namba plans to return home from a friend's house.
Give this nigga the death penalty, bro. That's all I want to hear. Leave them babies alone, bro. Golly.
Tsutomu kidnaps her. He f***s her into his car and drives to a parking lot and takes pictures of her, of the inappropriate kind. Her was found 3 days later, close to the parking lot. On December 20th, Namba's family also receive a postcard that reads, Erika, cold, cough, throat, rest, death. June 6th, 1989. It's been almost an entire year now since his first victim, and he still has not been caught yet.
How?
Ayako Nomoto, age 5, is again just playing in the park when Tsutomu asks to take pictures of her. After doing so, because Ayako obviously doesn't think anything of it, she's 5, goddammit, he convinces her to get into his car where they could continue taking pictures. And again, he embarrasses her. He does not let her rest though. He keeps her body in his apartment for the next 2 days and does unspeakable things until it starts to decompose. He also drinks her and eats parts of her to make it even harder for all of the family.
Bro, keep them babies safe, bro. Do not let your kids go out and play. Do not give them benefit of the doubt. It's too many freaky frogs out here, bro. There's far too many freaky frogs. It's the worst thing is it's the people, what they say, it's the people that you know, that you see every day. You're not taking my kid nowhere, bro. Hey, the bear's just as bad, bro. But when it's weird freaky frog niggas like this, these are babies, bro. These are babies, bro. I'm not with it, bro. Do not put the babies in it, bro. Why don't you do it to degenerate men, bro? Go do it to like the bad guys, bro. Golly. That I agree. The bear ain't doing it for pleasure, bro. That nigga's just gonna snap your shit and eat you, and it's just another regular day, bro. But these niggas, bro.
Of the victims, he would keep sending postcards describing what he did to them in
Leave
detail,
them babies,
and
bro.
even call them regularly when the families would pick
Right?
up.
It's always like these weird niggas always picking on the less than, the ones that can't do nothing. Do you know what I mean? Fight me, bro.
They would just hear
Golly.
him breathing through the phone, not a single word being said. July 23rd, 1989, Tsutomu sees 2 sisters playing in a park, and he convinces the younger sister to go with him. Again, he
How?
starts taking pictures. But before this horrible cycle of suffering is able to continue, her father steps in and attacks Tsutomu. Luckily, her older sister who stayed behind ran to her dad to tell him what happened. Tsutomu is able to escape, but leaves his car behind. When he eventually returns, thinking that he's safe, he's finally arrested by the police, who waited there the entire time. But that is not the end, just yet. When the police enter his apartment,
Bro, this has got to be like. Do not get me started, bro.
they find a total of 5,763 videotapes, some containing anime, some containing horror movies,
Whoa.
and some containing footage of his victims. Like the entire room was just filled with tapes. On March
Oh, you know
30th,
it stinks in
1990,
there.
pretty much all of Japan knew who this man was. It was a huge thing on the news. His dad, who apparently didn't know any of this beforehand, didn't bother to pay any kind of attorney to represent him, and his whole family obviously disowned him. During the
Good.
trial, Tsutomu would really just yap. He blamed his alter ego for all the... He called him the Rat Man. This is a picture he drew to describe him. Bro really just copied the Chuck E. Cheese costume. The thing is, under Japanese
Oh
law,
my
people
God.
were in the state of like...
It's not even funny, but. Oh my God. 7 years. A 7-year trial, bro. Man's been locked up for 7 years. Just give him 100 more. People of mine are not subject to punishment, and people having cognitive disability are entitled to reduced sentences. No,
insanity where they commit
thank
their
you.
crimes aren't punished in the sense of going to prison. Instead, they would be sent to a medical facility or something similar. So it was really just a question of, was he actually insane or just pretending to be to get his sentence reduced?
No.
During the interrogation, he talked about how the Rat Man was always standing next to him, and before he killed one of the victims, 10 Rat Men would just appear, and once they were gone, the victim was dead. Like, really just trying to seem like he was insane, which he obviously was to a degree, but he was definitely also fully aware of what he
Right.
did. There
Thank
were 3
you.
teams of expert psychiatrists analyzing him, I guess, and they all came to different conclusions. One deemed him as schizophrenic, the other team said that he had multiple personality disorder, and the third team said that he might have had a personality disorder, but was still capable of his actions, making him fully responsible. And the court ended up deciding in favor of the last team. And so on April 14th, 1997, he was sentenced to death, but he was actually hanged in 2008. That was something, man.
Hanged, you know. That's why you get rid of scumbags, bro.